Warning. This podcast may contain spoilers from whatever TV show or movie is mentioned. Please listen at your own discretion. Welcome to Viewers Anonymous.
Yo, what's going on? I am Scoot Bronson.
And I am S. Foster.
That's right. You tuned in to another episode of the Viewers Anonymous podcast where we give you our very own reviews and takes of movies and TV straight out of Hollywood. What's going on with you, bro?
Man, can't call it, man. Just another day above ground. Had to work today with this listen, man, when it rains, man, it messes up everything. But I'm telling
Oh,
you.
I know the
And
feeling.
then
I know the
and
feeling.
then listen, we had summer down here for like 2 weeks. I
Yeah.
woke up Monday morning, my guy. I woke up, checked it, 30 degrees. Like what the fuck? Like this whole
Hey,
week I wore
I
pants and
would
long
feel
sleeve
sorry
shirt.
for you. I
I know.
would feel sorry for you, but you know what I'm saying? We didn't have that shit for the last 2 weeks. So
but yeah, man. Other than dealing with the weather change, man, and dealing with the rain, but I'm doing all right, man. How about yourself? How you feeling?
Hey man, cold, you know what I'm saying? Outside of that, everything is going spindiferous, man. I really can't call it, man. Shit, just man, I'm enjoying life right now, bro. TV is back. Movies are coming out that I definitely want to see, and you know what I'm saying, want to enjoy. And outside of that, everything is great, bro.
That's what's up, man. Love to hear that, man. It's a great
For
thing to
sure.
hear, man. Because I feel like, what I'm saying, the better off we are, I feel like the better product we can get to people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely,
so that's definitely a good thing, man. Definitely a good thing. So glad to hear that.
for sure, man. So you know what I'm saying? This is one of those episodes that I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. This one might go, you know what I'm saying, a little longer than expected. And because we got
Get
a
it out the
lot
way.
to talk about on this one. This is one of those ones, man, where we really gotta break some stuff down. But before we get into all of that, you know what I'm saying? You already know it's the second part of the week, so you already know we gotta get into one of our favorite segments of the pod, what we like to call what we watching. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's do it.
What we watching?
What we watching?
All right, man. So what you got this week, bro?
So I got two this week. One was one
Mm.
you recommended, and one I stumbled across, and I was like, "Yo, I had to text you about it. Tell you that shit was fire." So one that you was telling me about, I got like maybe 4 episodes in of that shrinking. You know what I'm saying, with the homie Jason Segel. You know what I'm saying, got in that him and Harrison Ford, and you know what I'm saying, it's all right show, man. I feel like though the only thing about it, like the approach of it, it felt like it's something I've seen before. Like
Mhm.
there's like some similar shows that I've seen that it reminds me of. Like there's a lot of similar. Like I know it's a different type of show, but it's something similar. Like it's reminding me of Fleischman's in Trouble. Like I'm getting that type of vibes off of it.
Okay.
But
Okay.
he Jason Segel is a shrink therapist, and he also lost his wife, and him and his daughter is coping through it two different types of ways, and like he like grieved without realizing that she needed to grieve too. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
he's kind of not abandoned his daughter, but emotionally abandoned his daughter. And so she's dealing with the shit her way. He's dealing with the shit his way. And he's like using his patience to kind of cope with the fact of losing his wife type of thing. And
Yeah.
so he ended up getting too close to the patients to the point where he's like not really doing the things he should do with his daughter. So that's one thing. Harrison Ford got a thing going on. There's one girl that's in the show. She got shit going on. So Apple TV Plus show. It's all right, man. And like I said, you recommended it, so that's something that I also started. So a movie that I watched, and that's an Apple TV Plus feature or whatever. Yo,
Mhm.
listen, Sharper, that shit was fire. You hear me?
Okay.
Like
Okay.
like basically it got Julianne Moore in it. Man, I forget what the one dude name is. Man, I forget his name, but it got Sebastian Stan in it. He's in it.
Okay.
But like so basically, oh man, how can I do this without giving it away? So there's this so basically Sebastian Stan and Julianne Moore are people who come into people like rich people's lives and like rob them basically. Like they play like this whole little thing,
Mhm.
like and it basically scam people. And dude, that look, it was fucking good. Like I'm trying not to give it away so you can watch it and so the twist don't, you know what I'm saying? Because I think that if I give you the twist, it's gonna kind of ruin it a little bit. But I'm telling you, you will fuck with this shit. I think the audience will fuck with this shit. But like, okay, right. So basically, there's this one girl who is, how do I put it? She's a drug addict. She got into a whole bunch of shit, and like she's having a meeting with this parole officer, right? And so
Mhm.
Sebastian Stan hears this conversation. He goes over and he goes to the parole officer and was like, "Yo, won't you give this girl a break? Blase, blase." And like he got all of his money out of his pocket. It was like, I got $584 right here. And so then he looks at so he's like bribing this parole officer, right? To let this girl go that he
Yeah.
don't even know, never met her a day in her life. So then he like takes off this watch, like this, it might have been a Rolex or whatever. So he takes off the watch and like he puts it down. And like so the parole officer, like the lady, she didn't fight on it. So he picks the money up, picks the watch up, and walks off. So she was like, hold on a second. So she goes and talked to him, and like so she ended up getting a Rolex off a dude, right? And like gave the girl like a
Mhm.
break or whatnot. Cause she was just saying that, yo, like uh she had some money problems and that's why she was trying to justify herself for why she's doing it, right? So
Yeah.
so the parole officer get a girl a break and she leaves. All right. So he tells the girl to come out to his car or whatever. And so he opens up the dashboard. This motherfucker got a whole bunch of watches in there. And the motherfuckers was fake. So he tells her to get in the car, like, yo, I got a job for you. And so like he ended up
Yeah.
like coaching her to be able to help scam people. And then there
Oh
becomes this
wow.
one target that they end up using, and him using that one target fucks like there's like this domino effect that starts just from this one person. So I'm telling you, like
Yeah.
you will fuck with this movie, dude. I'm telling you. Check out Sharper on Apple TV Plus. So those are my two what we watch.
Okay. Sound good. Sound good. So I only got one. You know what I'm saying? It's on Netflix. It is a Netflix anime series. The first of its kind. Actually, I haven't seen too many. Well, I take that back. I don't want to say the first of its kind, but it's the first of many. But I haven't seen too many Netflix anime joints specifically from Netflix. Let me go ahead and make sure that's clear. Um, but Netflix has a joint called The Record of Ragnarok, and it's super dope.
Okay.
It's basically all of the gods, you know what I'm saying, from multiple religions and ideals and all that have basically come together in a meeting to destroy mankind, and because they want to destroy mankind, um, uh, they pretty much just want to put an end to it all. And a Valkyrie comes and says, "Well, I have a better idea. I think that mankind stands a chance to pretty much um pretty much defend itself in a battle." And so the Valkyrie says, "Well, I challenge, the I challenge the gods to battle the humankind in Ragnarok." And man, if you are into anime, you will definitely enjoy this, only because there's how can I put this? Like it's so what it does is the Valkyrie takes like, so it's like 13 against 13, and whoever gets like the best record wins. And so it's like Zeus, it's like Anubis, Thor, Loki, Vishnu, Aphrodite. You know what I'm saying? Like all the gods from
Hmm.
mythologies and all that different stuff. And then like it's humans from history fighting against them. So like the first battle was between like Thor and like Lubu, who is supposed to be like the greatest Chinese general ever. And then like another battle was between like Zeus and Adam, you know what I'm saying, who was supposed to be like the first man on the planet. So it's super interesting if you in the mythology. It's super interesting if you're in a religion. It's just one of those things. Like as far as anime, they put two and two together and like made this dope ass, supposed to be like tournament of survival. And one of my favorite parts was Zeus and Adam ended up fighting. And the dopest thing about it all was that Zeus was fighting Adam, and we all know like Adam is supposed to be the first man created from God, made in His image. So Adam's superpower in the fight was called divine reflection. So like whatever God he fought, he was able to pretty much like dodge it and then copy whatever the God did. So whichever God fought him, he was pretty much gonna beat. And so like him and Zeus, you know what I'm saying, went back to back, and they had Zeus as like this super old ass frail man. And then like when he fought, he buffed up and shit. I mean, like if you in the anime, you already know how animes go, so it's super dope. If you get a chance to check it out on Netflix, it's 2 seasons. It's called Record of Ragnarok. Check it out. You will not be disappointed, man. It's super dope, man. I like it
That's what's up, man. I ain't mad at it. But
for
man, look,
sure, for sure.
before we get into the feature presentation, man, we just got some sad news that just really just caught both of us by
Yeah,
surprise, man. We were just doing, you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? We like to be professional and call it pre-prep, but you know what I'm saying? So we just sitting there and stumbled across something, man, and a great actor, man, Lance Reddick, man, passed away.
Hmm.
Um, there's no news out right now. It's just been released that he has died. The person that y'all know from Oz, that y'all know from The Wire, John Wick. I mean, this dude, like his stuff, like his IMDb is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, you were saying like, hold on, you talking about the dude that played the voice on the Destiny games? I was like, hell, I don't know, I
yeah.
ain't played any of those games, but
Well,
it's
yeah,
for
I know him from voice being the voice of Zavala from Destiny. Um, and he's pretty much been holding that title for the longest. And it was crazy when I first seen it because like I didn't even know that's who he was. I thought it was the light skinned dude that played Blue in Temptations. And so when I first seen it, I'm like, man, this dude sounds familiar. We done seen him in multiple movies. So Lance Riddick is one of those guys that you've seen him on multiple occasions, but you haven't seen him a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was watching a behind the scenes thing on the website for Destiny 2, and they were showing like all the voice actors. And he's been like from Destiny 2, he's been doing video games forever. And you even mentioned a few video games in pre-pro um that I was like, yo, that's crazy. So I mean like the fact that he's been doing it that long just kind of lets you know like he's really been doing a lot of, you know what I'm saying, different things. And you know what I'm saying, it's just dope to know that he's been involved in so many things, but it sucks that, you know, he won't be here with us any longer.
Yeah, man. Like I was saying, like, the new John Wick movie's coming out here soon, and he's not gonna make it to for that movie to come out. So I guess they're gonna have to go in and add that rest in peace in the memory of you know what I'm saying, in the credits of the movie. So rest in peace to
Hmm.
him. You know what I'm saying? Condolences to the family of Lance Riddick, man. So just wanted to throw that out there to the people. We just found that news out.
Right. Um, man, I ain't gonna lie, man. That stuff like that sucks. But you know, hopefully his family is okay and they're in a better space. You know, they don't have to worry about, you know, too much. So um, you know, we wish them all well, and condolences and prayers for sure.
Yes,
But
sir.
let's go ahead and get into our feature presentation. This one is of the utmost importance because this season is woo heating up. You know what I'm saying? Man, I don't know how else to put it, man. This season is really it's getting crazy, man. So we are on episode 5, and not only are we on episode 5, we are pretty much um getting into some real heavy things between all of the storylines. Um, so let's go ahead and, you know what I'm saying, get to talking about it, man. First off, let's give a synopsis. Um, Leon is back. Leon gets into a fight with Lil D. He pretty much wins, and it seems as if Leon is coming back to. It seems like Leon is coming back to take over the project. Not only is Leon coming back to take over the project, but Wanda is kind of feeling a way about it because, of course, you know, she had a previous addiction and everything, and she had got away from that, and she's not sure how she's going to handle it. Um,
Hmm.
then you know, Franklin is still after his money. He's trying to figure out why Teddy hasn't given him his money back, but he has a plan for that. V and her mother are working with Franklin to get that money back, and then we find out a little bit about Sissy. You know, she's running the shelter, and Teddy and Gustavo are trying to get back at the KGB guy, trying to figure out what he's doing, you know what I'm saying, what he's about. They figure out who he is, they find out where he's staying at, and Teddy figures out that he's gay, which is a major thing around this time in the 80s. And that's pretty much, you know what I'm saying, the synopsis of everything that went on in this episode. So, where would you like to start off? What do you want to talk about first?
Man, listen, it's only right. We start off with Jerome, man. I mean, when you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about Jerome, you kind of got to talk about Louis too, but this wasn't really a Louis type of episode. So, but yo, like, so basically, just a little quick rundown because I think that I think this conversation about Jerome can get really deep. But so, it starts off with D comes over to have a meeting with him and Louis, and he's just like, yo, Leon is, back in the projects or whatever, and like, I took all my work, but don't give him no work. And then Louis like, yo, like this is a business. And D just, first of all, look, don't try to be hard now after you done got your ass whooped. That's number one. So you get your ass
Absolutely.
whooped, and then you want to come over here and say, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't none of your business, bitch, and all this type shit. And it's just like, yo, like, what's up with you? So Jerome tell everybody to clear the room. And like, so he's trying to have a conversation with D. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
look, he's like, basically, look, man, the game is changing. And he was like, we the OGs, and like these young boys, they don't run shit basically the way that we ran shit.
Absolutely.
And he was like, yo, we a dying breed now. And D like, nah, you a dying breed. And like Jerome is like, all right, so he's not getting my drift. So Jerome is just like, fuck it, like I'm dipping out of here. And so like told Louis I'll be back. So he goes to an old friend of his, I'm guessing a dude that he used to sell, weed with back in the day. And he has his own mechanic shop now. And you can tell even when he pulled up, you know what I'm saying? Like the dude was giving Jerome all types of signs. You know what I'm saying? Like, man,
Give us a minute, y'all. We having technical difficulties. Real quick, we'll be right back on it. Just uno momento, please. Basically, S. Dot was talking about the situation between Louis Jerome, Lil D, when they met up at the bar. He's back, so let's go ahead and get back into it.
sorry for the inconvenience, y'all, but like, so he pulls up to the shop, and my dude was like, "Yo, man, like, I'm full today." And so Jerome pulled out a couple hun, give it to him. So he was like, so he get up under the hood, and so he's trying to tell Jerome like, "Yo, I'll look at it, come back in a few hours." And Jerome like, "Man, I ain't been up under the hood for a while, so I'll stick around." So that was the first time dude was like trying to get Jerome up out of there. Well, second time really. So that's the second time he tried to get him out of there. So then,
Mm-hmm.
they just talk and chop. And I think that that's one thing that Jerome been missing because they're talking about, what I'm saying, NBA playoffs and shit against the Lakers and the Celtics. And I
Which is
think that
crazy to hear about niggas talking about the fucking Lakers in the '80s. That's wild.
yeah, because that's what it. I'm pretty sure this is a huge conversation around those times because remember what they faced each other
Absolutely.
what like what 6 or 7 times in the '80s.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they played each other a lot. Like the only other team to win a championship in the '80s is the 76ers and the
Mm-hmm.
Pistons. Yeah, so
Yep.
all them other ones was Lakers, Boston. So they're
Yeah.
talking Lakers, Boston, and like you can feel Jerome's energy, man. It's like Jerome had been able to just talk about, what I'm saying, real shit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he's telling the guy, he's like, man, so how many kids you got now? And like, why he was like, yo, like I got three or whatever. And Jerome's like, man, he was like, man, I'm proud of you. Like you was able to, take your money, start this legitimate business, this, that. And like this car drove by 2 times. And my dude mentioned it. Like, yo, he said, I know that's the second time this car done passed through here. And Jerome's getting agitated. So Jerome pops the trunk, get the Uzi out there, bitch. He was like, Jerome, like, man, what you doing? He was like, what? And he was just like, man, look, like basically, you gotta take that shit on somewhere. Cause he was like, I got people depending on me being home or whatever. And
Right.
and so then he told Jerome, he was like, yo, man, he was like, I love you. And he was like, man, you love me, nigga? He was like, like, yeah. He was like, man, you got 2 cars in here. And you've been trying to get me out of here the whole time. Like, and but when they were standing face to face and he told Jerome, like, there's people counting on me to come home, Jerome starts crying.
Yeah.
And he apologized to everybody. He's like, I'm sorry for ruining y'all day. And he leaves. And we've been talking about Jerome's mental state for a while. We've been talking about
Yep.
this shit since last season. We was like, yo, there's something going on with Jerome. You know what I'm saying? And for him to go to an old friend to really just to be able to just kick shit with somebody that he fucked with. And dude is like, yo, like, I really don't need your type of energy around here, man. And it's just like Jerome life really now only consists of is Louis in the game. And the question that I wanted to ask you, I know you was telling me this was one of the things that you was excited to talk about, but before you get into it, the one question I wanted to ask you was, what do you think? It could be a multitude of things, but what do you think the main reason for Jerome to be shedding a tear in that moment? Like, what do you think that was?
Okay, so I don't think it was Jerome. I don't think it was him wanting to spend time with an old friend. For the longest, you know what I'm saying, especially with this season, I've been talking about how Jerome wants to escape this life, right? He wants to get away from everything that's been going on. He doesn't want to be a part of this dope game. He's been trying to get out. He even beat with Leon. We talked about it when Leon came back and gave him the mask. I used to talk about he throwing it all in our face because he got away. Jerome been trying to get out of this. I even talked about in the diner how he was basically begging I'm about to say Leon. He was basically begging Franklin to take him out. And I think that when Jerome went to the car detailing place and he wanted to get his car done and everything else, he was basically trying to relive those days where he was just a normal dude that was just selling weed. He wasn't in this game. He didn't have to worry about, what I'm saying, dudes traveling around him and chasing him and looking out for him and all this other stuff. He could pretty much go where he wanted to go, how he wanted to go, all that other stuff. And now that they're making so much money and they're doing all of these different things, you start to see that, you know, this may not be the life for him. This may not be what he wants it to be. And you're starting to see, like, once again, like I said, he's starting to unravel. You're starting to see him unravel. And I think that he just wants to be the old Jerome. The dude that was wanting the speaker shop and what I'm saying, like you said, being able to kick it with his dudes and just talk shit, talk about the sports and all that shit. He can't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? All that shit has been taken away from him. And even though he's been, what I'm saying, having shit to be happy about, he's also had shit to be sad about. You know what I'm saying? He's also had shit to worry about. He's also had to look over his shoulder constantly and everything like that. And as you can see in the show, he's gotten sick of that. He threw his beeper away. You know what I'm saying? He just went out and
Mm-hmm.
just was doing him. He wants to live life, man. Like he's at that stage where it's like, bro, I shouldn't have to be doing this shit in order to be happy. And I think that's really what he's looking for is his peace and his happiness.
Yeah, yeah. That scene said a lot, man. When he threw the
Hmm.
people away, because like the thing is, they never got back to that storyline again. So we
Right.
don't know if. And then another thing, like Jerome just going out, no security, nobody following him. He just, you know what I'm saying, out and about. And we know it's Louis, the one that's beeping him because she's worried, like
Right.
Kane looking for you, Franklin looking for you. You know what I'm saying? Like we in the middle of a war right now, and you just gonna leave, you know what I'm saying, and be by yourself, and then you don't answer the pages. So Louis probably gonna go crazy. And I think
Hmm.
that, that's going to affect, Kane's plan to catch her at the stable because I don't think she's going to go to the stable without Jerome. You know what I'm saying? So that also affects that as well. But
Good point. Good point.
I think that, man, I think it's what you said, but I also think it's a multitude of things. I think it's everything that you're saying, and I think that Jerome is just like, going to see that old friend and see that he tried to ignore it. Like my dude he sent him like 8, 9 messages, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to get up out of here, you know what I'm saying? In the nicest way that he could. And it's like Jerome is to a point where I think that he sees that his life can't be simple anymore. Like he can't have barbershop conversations, you know what I'm saying, with someone at a bar or anything in that magnitude. So that scene to me was it was very sad because Jerome just really want to get out the game, man. And it's like he was telling D he was telling D the same thing. He's telling D like, yo, like the game has passed us by. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And D like, nah, fuck that shit. He was like, man, that's you. You know, and like,
Yeah.
man, it's really tough, man. I know I come in here every week. You know what I'm saying, on this topic, this thing that we're doing. I come here every week and I'm like, yo, I'm telling you, like, this dude is gonna crack. Like, and we starting to see it. We've been seeing the layers peel back. We've been seeing the layers peel back for a while.
Absolutely.
And it's like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like Jerome seemed like he's finally got to that breaking point, man. And it might have been tossing that beeper. And he's just like, yo, like I am sick of this shit. And I think it also the fact of like seeing an old friend of his who he, because I think that the way he's looking at his friend is is like you was able to take your change and start legitimate business. I started a business, but when the last time? I mean, Jammin Jerome's is gone. You know what I'm saying? At least I think it is.
Yeah.
They ain't never been back in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think Jerome just kind of wishing that he would have took the route that he took. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I agree with you, but my thing is right, like, and so this is what I question too. I kind of question, I kind of question how old D was, because the way he was talking to D made it seem as if like him and D was around the same age, and D looked like a little bit younger than Jerome did, and not only that, he was calling D OG. And around those times, like you didn't call nobody OG unless you know what I'm saying, like they deserved that title. And for the most part, the reason they deserve that title is because they kind of either put in the work or they put in the work and then they later on in time got older. And so for him to look at D in as his peer or look at him in the same light was kind of weird to me because it felt like Jerome was a lot older than D was. Like D to me seemed around like maybe a couple years younger than Franklin and Leon compared to being the same age as Jerome.
I
You
don't
know what I'm
know.
saying?
I feel
Like
the other
D
way.
didn't seem around that age bracket as Jerome was. And that's why I was so confused as to why he kept calling Dion OG.
I disagree. I always felt like he was like the age of like somebody like Jerome because I remember
Okay.
last season or either last season or season before when like you remember when they did the when Jerome was going to the projects to I forget who he was going after, but D
Hmm.
was there and Franklin was trying to stop him. You remember that
Yeah.
shit? When he met up with D, he always called him OG. That's what made me think that like they was more around the same age. I feel
But
like
see,
look,
that's what
we
I'm saying. Like to me, he doesn't well, and maybe it's just because of the character in general. So maybe that's why I'm kind of tripping. But at the same time, he doesn't seem like he's the same age as um Jerome. And like I said, it may be a thing to where maybe I'm bugging out, but I just don't look at them two. And maybe it just may be the actors. It might just be the actors, but I don't look at him and Jerome as being the same age. Um, but outside of that, I to me, I don't know. Or maybe it's just we don't have enough on. Um, maybe we just don't have enough on D as a character. You know what I'm saying? And I might be looking at that and and basing it off that. But I feel like for Jerome though, like his whole thing is you can tell he's not happy.
Hmm.
You can tell that everything that's going on with him right now is is eating at him. You know, it's tearing him apart because I think that what he wants to do is he wants to have a life outside of what we're seeing right now. And because he can't have a life outside of what we're seeing right now, because everything is so messed up, I think that that is getting to him a lot faster than it's getting to everybody else, and and that is really leading us to this breakdown that we are constantly seeing episode after episode.
Yeah. it's it's wild, man. And then also like just to throw in there real quick because the stories are kind of, what I'm saying, coexist with each other. Just the fact of when they show Franklin over at Kane's, he get the phone call from B, and then Kane is like, you know, what basically what you got going on. He's like, yo, I gotta leave for a little bit because he heard him say that, yo, I'll be there in 24 hours. He's like, yo, you gotta handle the shit that's going on here. And so he's like, you need to tell me where to find Jerome and Louis. And so he basically told Franklin he couldn't leave until, what I'm saying, he came up with another idea. And then just
Hmm.
happened the TV just happened to show this lady riding a horse. He was like, "Oh yeah," like basically they didn't show this part, but he's just like, "Yo, basically, they be riding horses at the stable or whatever, whatever." So Kane sent his people over. They find the place where they ride at, and he tells the two dudes, they're like, "Yo, y'all stay here sun up to sundown." They ride twice a week, and so basically telling them to sit there. But like I said earlier, with Jerome being MIA, I don't think she's gonna show up to the stable. So I think that what's going to end up.
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't think so?
As we've been watching this transpire, when has whatever Jerome done stopped her from doing what she's been doing, or
Okay,
stopped her from doing anything in general?
that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? I think that with her whole thing is, is my way or the highway, and I think like once again because I called it earlier in the season, that's going to be her downfall. And I think this is the right now what we're seeing is the perfect setup for her to take this L. And so because they sitting there waiting for Louis at the ranch, I think what we'll end up seeing is because he can't get in touch with Jerome, um, she'll end up going there, maybe thinking that maybe he's there. She'll get caught by what's his name?
Kane people.
By Kane's people. She'll get killed, and that is going to further lead Jerome's breakdown. And I think that is going to in turn cause some turmoil, not only for Franklin but for Sissy as well.
I feel you on that. I did come up with a theory on which you just, what I'm saying, painted a perfect picture for it. Why I
Hmm.
said that I felt like Louis was the one that was going to get taken out, and the fact that Jerome would be the one to survive. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a great scenario. That's a great setup for what I had said that day. Um, so that's gonna be very interesting. Um, but D Leon, you mentioned it in the synopsis where Leon is you know getting not pampered, but you know what I'm saying. Wanda is trying to take care of him. He's you know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying beat up, all this type shit, and so they get a knock at the door. You know what I'm saying it's three dudes. They like, hey, D. He took all the stuff. He took the stash. He took the money, like all this type shit. And so Leon is wondering like how did they feel things was better when he was running it or when D was running it. And
Right.
so I appreciate the dude's honesty. Um, but the answer was wow. Like my man said, it's like yo, like man, you all over the place.
Yeah.
And Leon is like, what you mean? He was like, man, you leave with a crackhead, you come back with a wife. Like he
I
was
mean,
like,
but
yo,
he had a point. He had a
he
point.
had a point. And he was like, yo, he was like, watch your fucking mouth. He was like, I'm sorry, Wanda, but like that's how the hood is looking at it. Like the hood is looking
Mm-hmm.
at it like, dude, like we are in the middle of making money. You leave with this girl that was a crackhead, and then you come back and now she's your wife. Like, but then you voluntarily gave up your spot to D. So like
Right.
the project is looking at you like, dude, we don't know what you want to do. Like you come back and it's like you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So he goes outside talking shit, calling everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the moves, I'm gonna tell you something. I gotta be honest. I don't like the move where somebody have a gun in their hand and then they ask like they talking like shit, like looking for somebody else to talk
Yeah.
shit. Like
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm with
who
you on that.
who gonna say something? You know what I mean? It's like you got a
Yeah.
gun in your hand. Like, nah, keep my mouth shut. Like he's liable to pop off. So and then he says basically, yo, we gonna make money the right way. Y'all hit me up tomorrow. And
Mm-hmm.
Wanda's looking like, which I think she kind of sensed it coming, but it's like you know what her issue is. And
Yeah.
for you to make that decision,
Or he should know at this point.
yeah, but I feel like right now he's so caught up in trying to fix everything that he's starting
Mm-hmm.
to miss out on the person who needs the help the most. And it's
Right.
the person that you married. And like to put her in that position to where she already she's already struggling being in that same environment and now you're about to start back like y'all sat there and had a whole conversation about how what you were doing was worse than slavery by
Mm-hmm.
saying that when slaves look back, well, he said when slaves escape, they don't have to look back. But he was like, I feel like
Right.
when you are, you know what I'm saying, a crackhead, like you're always looking back. And for you to have that conversation with her in Ghana and then come back and then go right back to what you're doing, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, man. That's why excuse me, that's wild, man. What you think about that?
Um. So I look at it at this point like it's a circumstance thing, right? Like with Leon, him coming back, dealing with Franklin and everything else, like or dealing with that situation in general. You could tell that all that shit was heavy on his heart. He felt a certain way leaving out of there. And I feel like because he felt a certain way leaving out of there, um, that guilt or that quote unquote guilt, it kind of sat with him. I feel like Wanda, the way she looked at it was, I don't give a damn about none of this. At the end of the day, I'm good. I don't have to worry about shit no more. I'm happy now. And I mean, who could blame her? You know what I'm saying? She's in a good place right now. She's, taken care of, blah blah blah. Like you can't really be mad at her. I think that at the end of the day, Leon made the wrong decision. He got away from the game. He actually succeeded in being happy and getting married and living his life. I think that him coming back was a total, what I'm saying, a total mistake. And now he's back into the mess that he once escaped from. And we already know how, especially hindsight, what I'm saying, especially it being 2020, we know how it ends up for most people. It's either dead in jail or fucked up, or what I'm saying, only a small percentage of the few actually get away. And at this point, it's looking like that Leon was one of that small. He was a part of that small percentage, but now it's looking like he's going to end up like everybody else, especially with D going to Louis and Jerome talking about what he talked about, and then them not wanting to what I'm saying, help out. So it looks like he's going to end up retaliating. And in a place like the projects, it ain't too much you can do. It ain't too many places you can go. So that's looking like a place to where. And my whole thing is real quick. Aren't they related? Ain't him and D like cousins or something like that?
I don't remember. I don't remember. Because I was thinking about that too, but I like when they introduced him, man, it felt like it was so long ago. So I don't
Yeah.
remember if they were or not.
And see, that was my whole thing. Like I was trying to figure out if him and D was like, aren't they? My whole thing was like they cousins or some weird stuff like that. But either way, that's all irrelevant at the end of the day. They gonna duke it out. And because of that situation, I feel like what we gonna see is um we gonna see either everybody lose something. Excuse me, everybody's gonna lose something at the end of the day. And if they don't lose something, then they're gonna lose something close to them. Whether that be, what I'm saying, somebody's significant other or their significant other or a family member, excuse me, so on and so forth. And so I feel like the smart thing to do would be for Leon and Wanda to, of course, stay in Ghana. But I know
Mhm.
that wouldn't make for a good story at the end, no way. But it would have been the best thing. And I know that this is, what I'm saying, pretty much how you build characters. So I respect it, but when it's all said and done, man, it's like, damn, you want more for the characters. You want more for the people that you watch it, and because you can't really see that, you don't really get that. Um, but I really hope that what I'm saying, we could see a lot more for them. I would really appreciate it if if we can get that. And I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you like I said, you just want to see, especially characters like Leon and Wanda, you want to see them do better. And I don't think that's where we're headed in this season. I think that we are going to see a lot more letdown, and that's going to be tough. That's going to be real tough. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Man,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
unfortunately, man, I agree with you. But I mean, there is a little sign of hope when it comes to Wanda because, in which we could segue into that. Wanda and Sissy was having a conversation, and like she
Hmm.
was just giving Sissy props on the way she was handling things in his life, and then Sissy just turns around and says, like, Wanda, like you're amazing. You know what I mean? Like the way you able to, the way you able to deal with the things you deal with and overcome them the way that you overcome them. She was like, maybe I need to be more like you, and I think that those
Right.
were the words of encouragement that Wanda needed at that time because
Absolutely.
Wanda was going through what she was going through. I think that Wanda was having thoughts of like oh man, let me just take one hit real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that with Sissy giving her that confidence, of telling her that she is amazing for the way she's handling things, I think that that is something that could possibly, hopefully, keep Wanda on the right path with, what I'm saying, working at the shelter, and Sissy just giving her that confidence that she needed at that moment. Sissy has a way of doing that, man. Just like that scene of, after Leon shot that kid, because if people remember correctly, Leon always wore his afro out. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And when he shot the kid, Sissy didn't say nothing.
Right.
All she did was walk in and just started braiding his hair. That's
Yep.
all
Just
she
braided his
did.
hair.
And she has a way of, dealing with these kids, because obviously she got a son that's the same age. But
Well, I mean, she in a weird way, she's kind of always been around them and been raising them.
yeah, but I feel like she has more of an effect on Leon and people like Wanda
Absolutely.
that she can with Franklin. I think Franklin has
Absolutely.
gone so far off the rails to where she knows she can't, not control, but just, you know what I mean? She can't affect Franklin the way she can affect the rest of the kids that's his age. And
I wouldn't say
so
I wouldn't say off the rails though.
okay. I mean, it's calculated what he's doing, but at the end of the day, Franklin look at it as business. But we definitely gonna get to
Absolutely.
Franklin.
Yeah.
But also
Mm-hmm.
with Franklin and Sissy, he's having a conversation with Sissy of like basically telling her to run. And
Yep.
Sissy's like, yo, we've had this conversation before and I didn't run the first time. So she was like, what make you think I'm gonna do it this time?
Right.
And with him throwing the stuff in her face of like her helping him basically sell dope, which happened
Mm-hmm.
twice because Jerome did the same thing. And so, but he's not telling her what he's doing. She's not
Right.
with. I think that the reason he didn't tell her because she knew. Well, he knew that she would try to talk him out of it,
Right.
but I don't think she knows the significance of this situation, and I think that she would consider, I mean, hiding out or something if she
Mm-hmm.
knew that the plan that Franklin had set up and why he was telling her, "Yo, you need to get out of town right now." Um,
Yeah.
so with the whole interaction with Sissy, Wanda, Franklin, what are your thoughts on that situation?
Um. This is so to me. This is one of those things where, because Franklin is where he's at in his character development, I think that Sissy does a better job of playing a mother role to a Leon or Wanda or anybody else in those positions. Um, and because of that, you you know the when Jerome says earlier in the season, nigga, you ain't family. This is where all that gets erased because now you see how close of a family they really are, right? Like this is
Mhm.
damn near Franklin's brother and sister-in-law at this point.
Yep.
Um, and because of that, right, you see that you know she doesn't just look at Franklin and be like I care for Franklin, but she looks at Leon the same way. She looks at Leon as a son, as much of a son as she does Franklin, and I think um that's the most important thing because you also see the way she looks at Wanda, and because of the way that she looks at Leon, she also that spills over into what I'm saying her relationship with Wanda, her letting her stay there, her having the conversation with her that she did. her finding out about Wanda and Leon getting married, and you know what I'm saying, the way she congratulated Wanda and so on and so forth. And so I think that what she's doing for them is necessary because we forget that Leon's mom was there earlier in the show, and we didn't see her,
Hmm.
after a certain point of the season. And then Wanda, we kind of stumbled upon her being old girl's friend, and you know, now that they've got to the point to where they've got, it's good to see that somebody is giving them some type of guidance, some type of, what I'm saying, pathway to navigate what's going on, especially Sissy having been married, having a husband, so on and so forth. It's good that they have somebody to give them some type of advice.
You're right. I, I will say before we move on to Gustavo and Teddy,
Hmm.
it's gonna be interesting to see if Sissy leaves, and I think that Sissy is so.
Hmm.
I think Sissy's so not naive, but um, she's so stubborn to the point where I don't think she's going to, and it's gonna be very interesting to see if somebody like Teddy does something of the reason why Franklin wants her to leave, which we'll get to that. So Gustavo, he makes a decision. You know what I'm saying? First of all, let's go here first before we get to him and Teddy. With Gustavo having a conversation with his old lady, you know what I'm saying, and she's putting him in a tough position. You know what I'm saying? This is a crazy predicament she's
Man,
trying to put him in. I'm telling you,
man.
I say this all the time, man. Listen, you know what I'm saying? I love girls, man. I love them. Like Jay Z said, girls, girls, girls. Like, look, girls, I do
Yeah,
adore. But I'm telling you, man, y'all, this is tough. So he
yeah,
goes, he tell her, like, look, the KGB get the drop on me, DEA on me, CIA on me. Like, I'm gonna have to either. So basically, he gives her a choice. Like, come with me. We go into protective custody. She's like, yo, I'm in witness protection. Excuse me. She's like, yo, I don't want to do that. So he's like, all right, well, if you don't want to do that, then you got to run. She's like, I don't
right.
want to do that either. Fuck you mean? Yeah, it's only two choices. It's only two choices, yo. And
Man,
she pulls up a third one. She pulled a
yeah,
third option out of her ass and say, yo, I want to live a boring life without us having to look over our back. And she was like, you're gonna have to figure out how to do it. The fuck you mean I gotta figure out how to do it? Like, I got three different organizations like on my ass right now, and you telling me to figure out a way to get all three of them off of our back? Like, come
hmm.
on, man. She putting Gustavo in a tough predicament, man.
I mean,
Man,
but is she though?
it's it's not easy. Is it impossible? It may not be impossible, but when you got these three organizations on you the way that they are, and really four, because I mean, if Teddy's not really, he's trying to get back into the CIA. So he ain't even technically CIA, but the CIA know about him because of
Hmm.
his partner dude. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough to get from up under this rock. And with her, I think that what she's doing is like really kind of giving him like that motivation to like, yo, don't give up, figure this shit out,
Yeah,
basically. And that is another way to look at it, but it's just like, yo, like my man is stressed out. And you just threw a whole nother, you know what I'm saying, scenario in there, man. It's just like, and like I told you, man, the last episode, the last Snowfall episode, I was like, yo, I feel bad for Gustavo, man, because it's like he just keep getting put in these very tough positions, and it's just like what does he do? You know what I mean? But
Right.
I just thought that that was wild. But he ends up going back to tell Teddy, um, and then come to find out during that conversation, he figures out Teddy already knew because Teddy followed dude, and he ended up following dude home or whatever, whatnot. And he was like, "Yo, I've already taken, you know what I'm saying, everything out of the warehouse." And Gustavo was telling him in that moment to take everything out the warehouse. So
Mm-hmm.
now Gustavo's like, "Oh shit, now I gotta call DEA and tell them, yo, like, don't do the raid because Teddy's already cleaned it out." But I think what that does for Teddy, at least, is with Gustavo telling him what happened, maybe that gains a little bit of his trust back. Because I think that he didn't trust Gustavo, but I think he kind of figured
Well, I
out, like,
mean, we seen he didn't.
yeah. But also at the same time, Teddy's also smart enough to know, like, yo, if y'all just happen to be at the bar at the same time, the way y'all was at the bar, he was like, he had to be recruiting them.
Absolutely.
And for Gustavo to tell him about it, he's like, "Oh, okay, so this was a recruitment and you didn't go for it." So I think that he did get some of his trust back by telling him, "Yo, like the KGB is on you. You need to clear out the warehouse." And he's like, "Yo, I've already done that." So
Mm-hmm.
so when it comes to that situation, how you feeling about it?
I think what Gustavo did was smart. I think that Gustavo he's playing his cards, right? So he has the DEA in his pocket right now. Yeah, he got the CIA in his pocket right now. And he could have potentially had the KGB in his pocket. I think because of the way that the dude pulled down on him, he didn't really trust it, and because of the weight that the CIA and the DEA has on him right now, it's I feel like he's looking at it like it's not worth the risk, right? Um, I think that his whole thing is to get rid of Teddy, and I feel like him working with the DEA, I think that he thinks that that's the best option. Um, However, I'm not really sure because I think that that's gonna in a way backfire on him. Him doing what he did by telling Teddy everything was smart because now that, like you said, that gives Teddy the trust because we seen what Teddy did. He had the needle in his hand leaving out the car, and because he had that needle in his hand leaving out the car, we don't know what he would have did to Gustavo if Gustavo had told him anything other than what had went on. And that's a tricky thing because we know what Teddy is capable of. We know what Teddy can do. We've seen throughout the seasons that Teddy is um, a very formidable, um, a very formidable CIA agent, and we've seen him go through South America and kind of, get this grit about him. And I think that no Gustavo knowing him coming back and seeing what he's capable of, I think Gustavo doesn't want to press his button. And we know what Gustavo is also capable of. And to me, I feel like Gustavo doesn't want to get pushed to that point anymore. And just like Jerome, we see how he wants to get out of it. I think we're seeing the same thing in Gustavo, just in a different light. And to me, I think what's dope about this show is that we're seeing a bunch of different parallels, right? We're seeing parallels on one end between Gustavo and Jerome. We're also seeing parallels on the other side of Teddy and Franklin. Um, and so I think that Gustavo he just wants to go back to being happy. He was happy with, I forgot what her name was in the first season when she either
Yeah, I
faked her
forget
death
what her
or
name
whatever, and
was.
then he lost her.
Yeah.
But now he found another life. He wants to live that life and he wants to be happy. He wants to settle down with his family and not have to worry about all of this shit. We know that they're getting older. It's at this point, it's like, yo, I'm done with this shit. I don't want to keep doing this. And Teddy, I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to get back in the good graces of the government and get his position back. But he knows that getting his position back is going to take something that's going to go above and beyond. And I think that he's willing to do whatever it takes because he's at this point risked everything. He risked his marriage. He's with his having his son. He's with his family as far as his brother and his father. He lost his brother, like so. At this point, he's determined to do whatever it takes. And knowing that, I mean, it's gonna be a tough one. But I feel like Gustavo did the right thing. I think he's on the right path. I think that if anybody is able to bring Teddy down, it's gonna be between him and Franklin.
True, true. Ah man, that's gonna be a wild conversation there.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
all right, man. So when it comes to Franklin V and her mom, this is all
Okay.
just a whole big whirlwind of problems. So first of all, I was wrong on the whole Kansas thing. With the Kansas tag, I did not realize and I forgot that not Franklin, but Teddy's dad was in Kansas. So that's the whole explanation when it comes to the Kansas tag. Um, so what the plan ended up being was that V and her mom goes out to basically lure Teddy's dad away from the home that he was in to basically get him in a place that's secluded and they're able to do this shakedown of Teddy basically. But the way that it was being done was V and her mom was acting like well, obviously she's still playing her daughter. Her mom is playing an older black lady, a lady that is old enough to be in a home. And so she's trying to sign her into a home and she goes and have a conversation with with what he called himself Mac, had a conversation with Mac and basically lured this dude out to what I'm saying, she gets this I mean, it's not an Airbnb back then, but like this basically this hotel that looked like a little house. And
Yeah.
so, but what it was the conversations that was being had. Like, I
Mhm.
felt like even though she was playing a role, I felt like they both was being very personal when they was talking about their kids. And even V was making faces when she was listening to the conversations. And I think what ended up happening was that they started to not necessarily have feelings, but start to feel for Teddy's dad. You know what I'm saying? Like even though he was sick
I
and he had
I
cancer,
don't know.
you don't think so? I felt like this was more than just an act. Like it seemed like they really started to feel for the guy to the point where like yes, we're gonna do this job, but maybe he don't have to die necessarily
Yeah.
because the way that they acted when Franklin did what he did, I don't know, man. I felt like they were thinking, yo, there's another way out of this. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
as far as the whole lead up, man, how did you feel about the whole lead up of V Mom acting like and dressing like an older black woman, and then they do this whole little thing to uh um escape my dude out of the home or whatever or whatnot.
Okay, so I already told you. I think that they work for an agency, and this has me thinking that they work for an agency more so than ever, because the way that they're able to do things and the way that they're able to coordinate missions and all these other things, but something is just not sitting right about this whole thing. And because of that, I think that what we're going to see is some exposure. And that exposure may be, I don't know, V's mom, it may be V, it may be both of them. But I feel like we somebody's gonna get exposed here, and somebody's gonna be working for an agency, uh, preferably the FBI. The way that they worked that whole situation to me was telling. Um, it told that we're going to see a lot more of We're gonna see a lot more of V and her mom maybe in these like next few episodes. And because of the situation, we're definitely gonna see that because we've seen the conversation that V and her mom had in the car. And
Hmm.
her mom was kind of warning her of Franklin, right? She was saying
Hmm.
like you don't want to you don't want to hang on with a guy like this because a guy like this is gonna want more every chance he gets. He's never gonna be fulfilled.
Hmm.
And I felt like V sees something in Franklin that her mom doesn't see, and of course V spends more time with Franklin. She's been around Franklin more, so on and so forth. So she knows a little bit more about Franklin than what her mom does. Her mom only sees what she's seeing, and she's seeing Franklin in duress right now because Franklin is trying to get this money back. She's
Yep.
not seeing Franklin at peace. And I feel like had she met Franklin at peace, then it would have been a totally different mindset of who Franklin is and what he does, so on and so forth. Um, but I feel like her mom is trying to get something back, and I feel like V is, even though she wants her mom involved and she wants her mom there, I think she's kind of looking at it like, maybe it's best if after this we don't talk anymore because that's kind of the vibe she's giving off. Now, of course, after everything has transpired and happened, maybe not so much in this, at this particular point. But I feel like this whole time, that's kind of the energy she's been given. But I think that what they did was amazing. I mean, to pop up on Mac and find Mac, and for her to even go undercover and pull that off. I thought it was genius when she was talking to Mac, and Mac was like, you look a little too young to be here. And she was like, oh, you haven't heard, or you don't have too many black friends, huh? Like, yeah, black don't crack, basically. That's what she was saying. And I thought that was a great way for her to kind of, break the ice and get Mac comfortable because you could tell like that's not his normal company,
Hmm.
if I could use that word. Um, and so like when she was wooing him and talking to him and trying to get as much information about him as she could, um, I thought that it made a lot of sense of V hearing about when she was talking about her and her dad and all those different things. And I think once again that's what's gonna help pull V away because V, I think once she gets in the vicinity of her mom and she's actually around her mom, she kind of get punched. She kind of she tends to get punch drunk, as we can see, and like and because of that, she's so happy her mom is back around. She's so happy they're back doing what they it seems to be usually doing. And I think that when she heard that conversation, she kind of snapped back into reality as to say, like, okay, this is not the woman that I want her to be. This is who she is right now. And because of what I'm saying this being who she is, um, you know, I need to focus on the mission more so than to worry about getting my mom back, if that makes any sense.
True. True. I just thought that those conversations that were being had were very real. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, I do too.
And I don't know necessarily how it's going to affect both of them.
Mhm.
And you know what I'm saying? But when we get down to it, so V mom hear a car pull up outside and she gets up and she gives Mac a kiss and she's like, look, our time here is done. That's my
Mhm.
daughter and her husband. And so then, they walk in and, small talk is happening. Then it goes to Teddy. Teddy gets a beep. Yo, it's a Kansas number, a Kansas area code. So he calls the number. Franklin like, yo, like I knew that the Kansas area code would get your attention. So
Mhm.
like basically guess who I'm with, and he's like, yo, you were, with your dad, blase blase, like give me my money. Like Franklin, don't go about it this way. He's like, yo, give me my motherfucking money. This is the last time I'm gonna tell you. And then, you know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, like he's trying to he's trying to talk Franklin down. Franklin ain't trying to hear it, and Franklin and it was very interesting. And this is my first question to you, but I'm gonna finish it out. My first question to you is, do you think Franklin did it way too early? But Franklin goes and like, "Yo, Teddy, come, talk to your dad real quick." And he just cut his neck. Like, you know what I mean? Like he didn't put his dad on the phone. He didn't even let him say, "Hey, Teddy," nothing. Like this motherfucker just cut his neck. He's bleeding out on the floor. V and her mom's look on their face. They're like, "Yo, like you didn't even give Teddy really the opportunity." Like, what was your thoughts when seeing that scene go down the way that it went down? Like, what are your thoughts, man?
Okay, so I got excited. I ain't gonna lie to you. I got excited because um seeing that this whole time, right? I like I said, they've created a monster.
Hmm.
Well, I'm sorry, Teddy created a monster, and him creating a monster has once again, um, like I said, the parallels, right? You see
Hmm.
that Franklin has become just as aggressive and devious and defiant and all those other words to describe him as Teddy has. And because he has become that, um, you see that Franklin is on his shit. He's not playing any game. And you asked the question of, do I feel like he did it too fast? No, I don't. And the reason I don't is because we know what Teddy is capable of. You can't allow Teddy to sit around and ponder what he's going to do next, knowing that his dad is held captive, because he has way too much on his side to be able to fight. And so you know that you have to put him in a dire situation. And what could be more dire than the guy that you stole the money from killing your dad? You know what I'm saying? And telling you that at the end of the day, if I don't get my money back, I will go after everybody you know and love. When have we seen Teddy under those restraints?
We
We
haven't.
seen it earlier. We seen it earlier in the seasons, and we know that when he's under those restraints, he has to give up everything. He has to relinquish everything. And so we've seen that he got away from his girl and his kid because of the fact that he had so much going against him. He couldn't risk that. And so he's risked at this point he's realized that he's risked the one person that, you know, he can access and he can love, which is his father. Even though they have a on again, off again relationship, he still had that love for his father, and you could see that when they were on the phone because he was like, "Yo, I don't give a fuck about that old man. I don't give a fuck if you kill him." And then he stopped. He realized that it didn't get any kind of reaction, and he was like, "Yo, just put him on the phone. Just let me talk to him." And he was like, "Oh, I'll let you talk to him." And so even when he answered the phone and he said, "Yo, I'm in Kansas, blah blah blah," he talked about his dad. Yo, he instantly, he got my dad, and it's like, now Teddy is in a situation where he is not the one that holds the cards. We've seen Teddy in that situation before, and we know how Teddy can come out of that, but we've never seen Franklin in that situation to where he's holding the cards. We've seen Franklin in the situation where he wasn't in control and wasn't holding the cards, and we've seen how he came out of that. He came out on top. Now that the tables have turned, we know that Teddy can, flip it around and do what he does, but we don't know what Franklin is capable of. And to me, that is the most important thing about this episode, is because we're starting to see Franklin become this 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 I don't want to say leader, but pretty much this kingpin, right? Because even when dealing with Kane, he was him and Kane, and Kane told him, like you said earlier in the episode, like, "Yo, I'm not gonna let you leave until you give us some type of information." And he was like, "Yo," he's sitting here thinking, he sees the TV and was like, "Oh yeah, the stables. They go to the stables all the time." which to me also leads to thinking that maybe Jerome and Louis don't go to the stables no more. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that's just his way of luring Kane along so he doesn't end up killing his uncle. Because I feel like they all still have love for each other at the end of the day. Maybe Louis not so much, but as far as Jerome, Sissy, and Franklin, like they're gonna keep that together, and Leon too. And but I feel like that what Franklin is doing is he's playing Teddy's game against him, and Teddy hasn't had to deal with that. Teddy, the well, I'm not gonna say hasn't had to deal with that because he did. He had to deal with that when he was going against the CIA, right? When he was down in South America. And so because Teddy had to go down to South America to be able to get that grit and get that experience, now it's a different situation because you're not dealing with the CIA anymore. Now you're dealing with, you know what I'm saying, this kid who you pretty much groomed to be this local drug dealer who's pretty much turned into a kingpin who turned into the biggest drug dealer in America at this time that we know of in this show. And because you put him in that situation, he's turned into a monster. And this is a monster that you created. And we know what happens when people create monsters, right? The monsters eventually turn against them, and the monsters eventually kill them. And this could be possibly, Teddy's demise is because he took this kid who he underestimated and thought that okay, this is just gonna be a kid that I could pin everything on in the end, blah blah blah. Not knowing that Franklin has always been smart. We already knew that because he was going to school, you know what I'm saying, out the way with the smarter students. You know what I'm saying? He was going to a private school and all this other stuff. And we already knew how smart he was because instead of, selling weed for Jerome in the city, he was selling drugs for Jerome in the hills. So we know that Franklin has always thought outside the box. We already know that he's one of those smart guys that everything he does is one step above. So now we get to see pretty much a quote unquote Clash of the Titans, if that's a good term to use.
Well, yes. Two things. Like one, you also got to remember Franklin was on his way to college, and the
Absolutely.
thing about Franklin is what makes Franklin different is Franklin was book smart and he was street smart. That's
Hmm.
what puts him above. Secondly, we have seen Teddy in this position before, and I thought you was going to mention it, but you end up not saying it. His brother, remember, his brother ended up getting captured by those people when they was out of town or whatever, whatnot,
Yo,
and
yep,
he had to
yep.
go down there and go get his
In
brother.
Mexico.
That's right, and his brother
Yeah.
ended up getting killed. Now that's the reason why him and his father don't talk anymore is
Hmm.
because of what ended up happening to Teddy's brother because Teddy got him involved.
Yep.
Now, when Teddy first answered the phone, Teddy like, yo, you must have didn't do your research. Like, man, this motherfucker ain't even cool. Like, we don't even
Right.
talk. But once he realized, and I think that's why Franklin pulled the trigger quick. So that's my mistake. The reason he pulled the trigger quick was because, oh, okay, so y'all don't get along? All right, cool, whatever. Then I just take his ass out then. But I'm also gonna tell you, while I kill this dude, I'm gonna go after your wife and named his son. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucker said Paul. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and so Teddy, but the thing is, Teddy tried to be hard. It seemed like he didn't care if his father would die or not. But once he
Absolutely.
heard his dad dying, that changed everything. But I also think that that's also a combination of things. I think it's also the fact that his dad is dying, but then at the same time, Franklin is fucking real. Like
Hmm.
when he says he's gonna go after my ex-wife and my son, I believe that shit now. So man, this stuff, man, it has gotten real. I mean, it's been real, but like it has reached a point of no return. Like it seemed like it could have been. I don't think that how tight they end up getting when they was rolling, I don't think they ever would have been that tight again because that trust has been broken by Teddy going and stealing his money. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that there could have been maybe a civil relationship, maybe, but like now, there's no turning back at this point. Like everything is destroyed now, and it's going to be interesting to see how Teddy maneuvers out of the situation. But also, before we get out of here, what is Gustavo going to do? Because remember,
Mm.
when when the guns was drawn and the heat was on, Teddy dipped out on Gustavo. And we
Mm-hmm.
talked about it, even though everybody want to talk about the whole Tiger shit. But look what happened in the midst of that Tiger shit. Him and Franklin kind of got a bond
Yep.
to where they saw that they were there for each other, and that because there was a scene where they was all tied up and shit. They could have gave each other up and they didn't.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how Gustavo handles this because we all know Teddy's not going to go about this shit alone. He's going to bring Gustavo with him. Is
Mm-hmm.
Gustavo going to pick Franklin? Is there a situation, do you think Gustavo would have to pick Franklin or Teddy? Do you think that could possibly happen?
I do. I definitely do. I think that at the end of the day, um, Gustavo is in it for his family. He's not in it for himself or Teddy or Franklin or anybody else. I feel like he's in it for his family, and because he's in it for his family, um, I think that what he's really trying to do is pretty much say, you know, this isn't this is the most important thing in my life, and because this is the most important thing in my life, what I need to do is prepare for what happens when I get out of this. And as we can see, um, he did that, and still doing that. Really, um, he I I really feel like when it's all said and done, he's going to use as much opportunity as he can to make sure that him and his family is okay, whether it's through the DEA, whether it's through not Franklin, or yeah, whether it's through Franklin or Teddy, whatever the case may be, he's going to do what he has to do. And I think that to me, dangerous. Um, that's the most dangerous thing is knowing that Gustavo can pretty much ruin everything that everybody has uh, going on. And with everything that he knows, with everything that he's a part of, and um, everything that he's capable of, really, because we forget that when Teddy went through that house, Gustavo was with him.
Mm-hmm.
Gustavo was right by his side. He was taking people out just as much so. Even on, when they went to go take out the dudes with the KGB, Gustavo was right there with him. So Gustavo is just as dangerous as anybody else, especially these main characters that we're talking about. And him being that dangerous, especially working with the DEA against Teddy, and especially knowing what he knows against Teddy, he could possibly be Teddy's downfall. He could possibly be um what ends up taking Teddy out. I know that it may not be, the best look, but I mean, I don't see it any other way at this point.
Okay. I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, what an episode today, man. That
Man, it
man,
was
that
it was amazing. It really was.
episode
I will say this
episode
though,
was fire crazy. What's up?
the writers are really taking charge of what's going on in this season. Because I know, like I said, we said it already. Last season was a little floppy, but this season, I mean, they are really getting in their bag, and I mean, each episode is getting better and better. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I would have to 100% agree with you. Have to 100% agree with you on that.
All right,
Man,
man.
man, man.
So let's go ahead and move on, man. Do you want to do Fire Flames for this one?
Nah, we never had before. There's no reason to start it now. I mean,
Okay, cool, man, cool. So, well, let's go ahead. Let's move on and let's get into our coming soon and tell you guys what we got coming up next. Here we go.
Coming soon to own on video and DVD.
Cool. So what we got next, bro?
man, we got our monthly doc, man. This is something that you were telling me about. You already seen it. I haven't seen it yet, so that's what I got lined up for this weekend, man. We got the limited doc, well, the docu series on Bernie Madoff, man, the one on Netflix, man. You've already seen it. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, so I can't really, speak on it too much. But it's gonna be interesting watching this, man, and getting the full, what I'm saying, the full story of it, man. I know the way Uncle Washington used to always put it was like everybody in his position was doing the same thing, but the difference was he was stealing from rich people, and they locked his
Hmm.
ass up for it. So so it's gonna be interesting watching this doc, man. So stay tuned, people. Stay tuned.
Absolutely. And listen, man, if you guys like this episode, if you did like this episode, if you guys think that Franklin is in trouble or Teddy is in trouble or anybody else for that matter, hit us up. Let us know. You can hit us up on socials at I'm sorry, on Instagram or Twitter at ViewerNonPod. You can also hit us up on Facebook at VA Pod Watch Group. Um, and if you'd like to hit me up personally and send me a message or just say, "Hey, Scoots, I like what you're doing," or "I don't like what you're doing," or "Hey, I hate your take," hit me up on Twitter, man. That's Scoots Brown. I got a link to my excuse me. I got a link to in my bio. You can hit me up everywhere else there.
And y'all can find me at s.foster8 on Instagram and on Twitter at 28 minutes or less pod. That's just on IG. Follow the podcast 28 minutes or less. The last episode is still the episode 117. Luther, the Fallen Sun, man. Oh my God, DCI John Luther. So go check that out on all major platforms. And that's all I got.
Cool, man. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, without you, we couldn't do anything because with you, we are who we are. Until the next episode, like they say in Hollywood, that's the wrap.
Cut.